What's up, you guys? My name is Kevin, and today I'm going to be bringing you a first episode of a new series I'm going to start on this channel called Pro Tips. Basically, it's just going to be quick tutorials or quick tips on anything involving editing or filmmaking, or mostly editing, I think, as far as right now. I hope this helps, and let's get right into it. So today we're going to be talking about something called Warp Stabilizer, and if you haven't heard about this, basically what it does is it looks at the footage that you have that may be shaky or has too much movement, and it tries to see what should be moving in the shot and what shouldn't be moving. Although it's very simple and very straightforward, it can be used very incorrectly and make your footage look even worse than it actually started. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to import a clip that shows kind of what I'm talking about in terms of how people are misusing this effect, and then show you how to correctly use it and hopefully make your footage look a bit better. So if we play this footage right off the bat, you can tell it's pretty shaky. I was holding my camera, I was holding the 5D, and it was, just completely handheld. I was walking up this rocky path, and then basically I just wanted to get this hopefully somewhat smooth shot walking over this platform and then looking over this valley. But as you can see, it's really all over the place, and you're gonna see Warp Stabilizer. Let's try that. And so what it's going to do is it's going to analyze all of the footage that you have in that clip, and it's going to go frame by frame. You can see it over here. It's at 2%. It has 625 whatever frames, 615, and it's just going to go frame by frame and look at what's supposed to be staying still and what's supposed to be moving. Okay, so let's take a look at what the footage looks like now. As you can see, the things like the mountain range in the background and a lot of the trees and the people standing on the platform and even the platform itself is, for the most part, very smooth. And this looks pretty good. But unfortunately, what happens with this effect, as you can see in the beginning here, it almost looks like it was shot through a block of jello. It turns everything into this wavy mess, and there isn't a way that we can 100% get away from this. It's either having, it's a trade-off. It's either having shaky footage or it's having very somewhat smooth footage, but it looks like it's, blowing in the wind basically, or it's, shot underwater. But what we can do to kind of cut this back is go down to our smoothness under stabilization, and we're going to actually bump this down. Let's start out with 20%. Going down from 50 to 20%. It's going to restabilize. It only takes a second. Okay, so we've taken it down to 20%. Let's see how it looks. So obviously we can tell that it's still extremely wavy. We still have the problem that we had before, and so let's take it down even farther, from 20% down to 5%. Now you might be thinking, okay, we're using stabilizer and we're trying to get rid of shakiness. Why would we be using less smoothness? Well, basically what happens is Warp Stabilizer sees so much shaking going on that it overcompensates what it's trying to stabilize, because it doesn't know what is supposed to look natural. It's just seeing colors and shapes, and it's trying to make sense of it all. So now that we have it down to only 5%, you can actually see that there is a lot less warping going on. You can see that it's kind of stretching right here, and it's still a little wavy. But for the most part, it doesn't look like you're shooting underwater. But also, like I said, it's a trade-off, because see how there is stabilization going on, but your footage is still going to be a little shaky. We can even take this down to, let's say, 3%. And if we look at that, there's going to be a lot less. You can't even really see the warping that's going on. Now if you really look closely, you can tell, but again, that's the trade-off you get with using Warp Stabilizer. it stabilizes footage very well, but at a cost. And it all depends on how shaky your footage is in the beginning. Now, I'm obviously using a very extreme shaky clip. It's pretty shaky, and you know, there isn't, unfortunately, a whole lot you can do to fix that. But remember, let's look at what the clip looks like originally. So I'm just gonna take off the effects here, and let's look at it with 0 stabilization. So you have a lot more jitters and a lot more shaking going on, whereas if you have the stabilization on, it takes out all of the jitters, and you still get that kind of side to side swaying motion, but it takes out pretty much all of the jitters, not having that underwater jello warping problem that people run into. So the moral of the story is, when you have shaky footage, Warp Stabilizer is a very good tool, but only at moderation, because you don't want people to know that you are using a stabilizer. You want it to look natural, like it was done in camera. That's the whole goal. And another thing is, Warp Stabilizer shouldn't be relied upon. If you're shooting a video, you shouldn't just say, oh well, I can just have a really rough shot and I'll just fix it in post. You should be doing everything you possibly can to get the smoothest shot possible right there while you're shooting, and then if you have any problems in post, then you use Warp Stabilizer, and it's a great tool. But don't ever rely on something like Warp Stabilizer, because you will end up with something that looks over edited and unprofessional. So anyways guys, I hope this helped. I hope you learned something or made sense of this. And like I said before, if you have any questions or any ideas, if you have anything you want covered in an upcoming episode, just let me know in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video.